This is the regular weekly meeting of the Mobile City Council for Tuesday, September 20th, 2016. Please stand as we are led in an invocation by Pastor Marlon Jones and remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Gracious God, may you infuse the thoughts of this council with wisdom to make compassionate decisions, but yet the right decisions for the well-being of the city and all its citizens, so that we may look back on this moment and say we were in the right side of history. We give you all praise. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Roll call, President Gregory.
Here.
Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. Good to see you here. Just a few announcements going forward. We had initially planned to hold next week's meeting off-site at the VIA Senior Center, but because we have the budget coming up, which I'll get to in a minute, which we will vote on next week instead of today, we have decided to go ahead and keep our meeting next week here at Government Plaza as we normally do. So we will meet next week here at Government Plaza rather than at 6 p.m. at the VIA Senior Center. Going back to the budget, some of you are probably here to speak to the budget, which is perfectly fine because it is on the agenda, and if you have signed in to speak, you are welcome to do so. But at our pre-conference meeting, we discussed the budget, and there are still some questions that are outstanding. So we will hold a Finance Committee meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock here at Government Plaza, and we have agreed to lay the budget over another week until next week, which again, we will meet here at Government Plaza as normal. One other thing I do want to talk about really quickly before we get on to anything else is I have this beautiful shirt that is representative of October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the fire department, as they have in the last few years, selling these t-shirts to help fight breast cancer. So Captain King is here, and if you would like to purchase a shirt, I'm sure he would be more than happy to get one to you. And if you guys would send us a JPEG of how to order the shirts, we can put that in our newsletter so that people will know how to get them and try to raise a little bit more money for you this year. So thank you for bringing my shirt, and we will all wear them with pride. Thank you very much. A couple of other announcements for our city council meetings. When you come to the podium to speak, you will have 5 minutes. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll hear the buzzer. That's your indication to begin wrapping up your comments. When you come to the podium, please give us your name and address for the record. If you have any questions or concerns, please address those to me. I'm the chair, and I will ask the appropriate member of the administration or the council to address those concerns and questions for you then. Again, we thank you for coming and look forward to meeting some of our guests here this morning. Ms. Merchant?
Approval of minutes of the meeting of September 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Communications from the mayor's office.
Madam President, the mayor is in Washington, D.C. today, where he's having meetings at the White House, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Transportation, and meeting with our congressional delegation to discuss all the great things going on in the city of Mobile and asking for help where we can get it.
We hope he comes back with a big check. Mr. Richardson has a proclamation.
Thank you. Will Dr. Seema Singh from the University of South Alabama Cancer Center come forward? Good morning.
Morning.
Glad to have you with us. This month is the Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And for that reason, we have invited Dr. Singh to come to share some thoughts about this dreadful disease. We're pleased to be joined this morning by Dr. Singh from the Mitchell Cancer Institute. She's one of the key cancer researchers at the center, running an independent laboratory program and serving as an associate professor. Well, here we go. We greatly appreciate her taking the time to speak to us about this important issue, and we are pleased to present her with this proclamation in support of Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And before I read the proclamation, I would like to say that I am a prostate cancer survivor. My PSA went up to 7. My doctor figured something was going on. I went to be tested, and they discovered it was cancer. And I elected to use laparoscopic surgery. And a week after I had the surgery, I believe I was in Japan on a trade mission. And for those people in the years past, you were in your bed for 6 months. If they used a knife to operate on you, you were down for at least 6 months. I was up in a matter of weeks and gone. So for those men that are having this issue, the treatment today is revolutionary. Do not wait. Do not wait. So I am 10 years past the surgery, and so I know what's going on. I've been there. So the proclamation reads, whereas prostate cancer is the number one form of cancer diagnosed among men and the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths among men in the United States. Wow. And whereas this year approximately 180,000 men will be diagnosed and 26,000 men will lose their battle with prostate cancer. And whereas incredible advances have paved the way for better prevention, detection, and treatment of this disease, and over the past 2 decades, the incidence of new cases and mortality rates of prostate cancer have been steadily declining. And whereas 2 tests critical of detecting men at high risk of prostate cancer and other prostate diseases are the digital rectal exam, DRE, and the prostate-specific antigen test, PSA. And let me just say, PSA is a matter of them drawing blood, sending it to the lab, and it's nothing painful. You go in, the doctor take the blood, send it off. It tells you what your PSA level is. It will determine whether or not you have infection, enlarged prostate, or cancer. And then you have to go and get that done. Whereas designating a month for this disease increases public awareness, education, and advocates for further research that would help save lives so that our commitment to our fathers, brothers, and sons can contribute to a brighter tomorrow for future generations. Now, therefore, our favorite D. Richardson Jr., Council Vice President, and the Mayor and the members of the Mobile City Council do hereby proclaim September 2016 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in Mobile. We urge all our citizens to join us in activities that would increase awareness and the importance of prostate screening, done in the city of Mobile the 20th day of September.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President Richardson. I'm proud of you. Just give a round of applause for being him a survivor. And I would, first of all, I would still like to appreciate the opportunity to address the council, and I would like to say thanks to the mayor's staff. And as he just told, that September is a prostate cancer awareness month, so I would just repeat a little bit facts again to you. Hope you don't mind listening them again. So according to the American Cancer Society, 1 in 7 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of the death in men, next to the lung cancer. Prostate cancer mainly develops in older men, and the average age is 66 years. And it rarely happens before the age of 40s. And how sad it is to know that prostate cancer discriminates. Therefore, it is important to increase the awareness of the disease that kills nearly 30,000 American men each year. And African American men are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer and 250 times more likely to die from this disease. So if we can get more men and women talking to the men about this prostate cancer, we can get more men surviving prostate cancer. So too many men diagnosed with the prostate cancer do not get it detected early because they do not go for screening. And its prostate cancer is curable if it is detected early, but the lack of awareness or the stigma contributes to the low screening test. So the best thing what we all can do is the men should go for a PSA test and a rectal examination starting at the age of 50. And if you are an African American man, and if your father, if your son had a prostate cancer before 65, please go starting at the age of 45 for a blood test and other examination. And what we offer at the Mitchell Cancer Institute, we treat the patients, and behind the wall of hope, we tirelessly work to find the cure for the cancer. And I have this event coming up. It is not for the prostate, but it is for the breast cancer awareness. If you have never been to the Mitchell Cancer Institute, please visit us and see what we have. I don't wish you come as a patient. You come as a visitor and see what we offer to the patients. And this is an event to giving back to the community for the breast cancer. And I have bought a magazine, which you can read tonight and see what we are doing there. And it's an excellent magazine about it. And at the end, let's spread the awareness of the prostate cancer and save more men. And I close with a hope to find a cure one day. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Did you want to get a picture?
No, I want to close out.
Oh,
I have a message for all men. Prostate cancer is painless. I had not one pain, not one. I went for my regular checkup, and the doctor took my blood and sent it off to the lab. When I came back, he says, your PSA is too high. Other than that, the cancer would have metastasized and went all over my body, and there would have been no hope because there was no pain. So just because you don't feel nothing, you're looking good and everything, no, that thing could be eating you up. Go get tested.
all right. All right. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Merchant.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
If,
Mrs. Rich?
it didn't come up at pre-council because we really extended that meeting, but there is an interest on the council to add is it considered an ordinance or a resolution, Jim? do an ordinance dealing with our logo, our city's logo. And so if the chair would entertain the addition of that, it would automatically lay over as a first read.
All right, Mrs. Rich is asking that we add an ordinance. We didn't talk about this at pre-conference. As she mentioned, we went a little long. So she is asking if we can add this ordinance to the agenda today. It takes 3 people on the council to agree to add any additional items. The president has to be one of them. I will agree to add it. Mrs. Rich is one. I need one more.
Here.
Okay. We have enough people to add it to the agenda.
Thank you.
And it will automatically lay over for a week, as per council rules.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion about the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Appeals, we have a request for a waiver of the noise ordinance on September 24th on St. Stephen's Road.
So
So moved.
moved.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings, today is a public hearing to consider the application of Anise Props doing business as AR Enterprises for a certificate of public convenience and necessity for sedan service.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this application, please come to the podium.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Anise Probst, 7685 March Road, Theodore, Alabama. And I'm here to get your approval for my license I'm basically going to be driving physical therapy patients to their appointments, and I need my chauffeur's license.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Today is also the public hearing to determine if the structures at 3919 Moffett Court, 1204 Spruce Street, 5620 Perry Road, 2308 Cecilia Street, and 2365 Willow Street are public nuisances and ordering them repaired or demolished.
Okay, this is a public hearing on all of these addresses for determination if the structures are nuisances and then order them either repaired or demolished. If anyone in the audience is here to speak on any of these addresses, please come to the podium. All right, with that then, the public hearing is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Madam President, we have a few people that have indicated that they wanted to address the council today, but because we were late getting over here with the sign-in sheet, there may be others that want to address also.
Okay.
But the first one is Frederick Jerome McMillan.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, since the budget is on the agenda today, if you are here to speak about the budget, you are welcome to do so. And of course, anything that is on the agenda, you are welcome to speak to as well. Otherwise, we expect everyone to sign in before 2 o'clock on Thursdays to address items that are not on the agenda. What was the gentleman's name again?
Mr. McMillan?
Mr. McMillan?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Frederick McMillan. I'm here, I live at 3755 San Juan Drive. I'm here to present some information concerning a shuttle service here in downtown Mobile District, the business district, and the entertainment district. I have some paperwork I would like to pass to each council member.
Okay, yeah, just like
Also to you. My objective and plan is to offer a shuttle service from the convention center, any events that we have downtown. Also, we want to be here from 11 to 2 o'clock during the lunch from Monday through Friday, so we can take office parties to their different lunch destinations or any destination that they desire. Also, we want to be down here from Friday to Saturday from 8 till 2 o'clock in the morning for the entertainment district, to take people from their different hotels, any destination that they decide. These will be low-speed golf carts with DOT regulations, safety regulations, 4 to 6 seaters, which will be able to seat, the 4 seaters will be able to seat 3 passengers, the 6 seaters will be able to seat 5 passengers. So, Also, too, we have safety cameras, dash cameras are located on each one, so for the customer's safety and to record anything that may be an issue. These are, this is the logo, information and numbers on it. So these want to make these visible and vigilant around the city of Mobile. Also, we have our hats, so each driver have a hat and also a shirt, which indicates our, identifies them. And basically, that's it. I'm just hoping that you all, find it hard to prove it.
The first step, as you know, is to contact the clerk's office to fill out the applications and go through the process. So if you would start that process, then it will come back to us on our agenda for approval.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. I've already submitted the application.
You've already spoken with Ms. Merchant, so.
Yes, ma'am, I submitted the application to her.
Okay. It has not come back to us. There's a process that you have to go through in order to get approved. So if you've submitted everything, we'll just take it through the process and go from there.
All right, thank you.
And if you have any questions, feel free to contact Ms. Merchant. All right, thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, sir, Mr.
I
Manzi?
just want to let Mr. McMillan know that this is quite a great idea. I think it's going to really be a useful transportation amenity in downtown, the area that I represent. So I look forward to supporting your effort once it goes through the process and hope it's a great success.
Carlos Finley.
Good morning
Good morning.
to the council and administration. I certainly want to start off by saying I am really glad to be sharing this podium with Mr. McMillan. We are both proud graduates of John L. LaFleur High School, and I support what he's doing as well. I am here this morning, however, to speak on behalf of the Dora Franklin Finley African American Heritage Trail. We are all aware of the trail and that it has been graciously placed on the city's budget by the administration, and I want to thank you all for the consideration that you are currently giving towards that funding. We have a group of folks here who have come to support us today, inclusive of board members as well as citizens throughout the city of Mobile. The trail has been ongoing now for 10 years. This is an initiative that was started by Ms. Dora Franklin Finley, and we have had a purely volunteer team for the last 10 years, and we have made quite an impact on our city. Today, we are here to make you aware of that. If you have not been aware of it, we are here to answer any questions that you may have relative to the trail. As we stand here today on the eve of our nation's grand opening of the African American Smithsonian Museum, we at the trail stand on the precipice of distinguishing Mobile as a institutional city, bringing forth recognition of significant contributions that African Americans have made in the city of Mobile. These are not African American Mobile citizens. These are Mobile citizens who happen to be African Americans. These citizens will bring in people from all over the world with their unique contributions and histories. We are a city of well over 300 years. There are very few cities within our country that can boast that figure. These individuals on our trail were here from this city's inception. When we talk about who I'm here representing today, I'm not only representing the African American Heritage Trail, I'm representing all of those individuals who have contributed greatly to our city, who have produced iconic names that still are present in our city today, such as Bankhead, such as Sanger, such as Murphy High School. These are all iconic names that have been brought to this city by citizens of African American descent in the city of Mobile. When I think about the partnerships that we've undergone, Mr. Tyndall spoke briefly at pre-council meeting regarding a partnership that we are working with his duck boats. That's a unique situation because those craft are unique in that they're the only craft that I know that can go on land and in water. Wallace Turnage, an escaped slave from this city, is the only slave that I know of who escaped going south instead of north to freedom. He had to cross 2 rivers and the Mississippi Sound in order to do so. The duck boat can do that. That's a partnership that we're looking to engage. We have already began talks with the National Underground Railroad. This is just an example of some of the things that this trail is capable of doing. When we talk about tourism, we certainly are a draw. We've been partners with Visit Mobile for several years, certainly since the inception of Visit Mobile. We are prominently displayed on their marketing video, Celebrate Mobile. When we talk about the essence of the trail, though, we talk about how it can inspire our children, because that's what we're all here for. We're here to inspire our children to greatness, to motivate them so that they understand that those who have come before them with far less resources than they have now achieved greatness, and they are capable of doing the same thing. When I hear the name H. Roger Williams, I want our children to know that Dr. Roger Williams was a physician at the turn of the century here in Mobile, not just what they know of him now. Thank you very much for your consideration on this matter. I appreciate you greatly, and I look forward to answering and addressing any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Elizabeth Sanders.
Hey, welcome. Thank you all very much for allowing me to talk a little bit about the funding that is in the budget for the Downtown Mobile District Management Corporation. There are really 2 components to that. One is for economic development outside the bid, but kind of in the downtown area. That's that, I think it's $72,000 or something to that effect. Then the other piece comes out of the baseline services agreement. And the figure that you see there is one that we've been working on for a couple of years. I have the contract that was proposed to us in May of 15 that would be the 5-year baseline agreement, and we've been working on that ever since.
Hey, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. Can you pull the mic down? There you go.
So, are there? The baseline, I know there have been some questions about the fact that parks are in there. The properties that are on the list are the same properties that have been on the list since 2005. They've been the same properties. I think the only difference is that in 2008, the city bought 200 government, and that has been added in. There was a question, I think, about parks. We do a lot of work throughout the day in the parks and night. We have a very good relationship with the Parks Department. They come and clean and take care of the parks in the morning. They do the landscaping, but we do a lot of homeless interaction. We clean during the day in the parks, and we also have periodically provided some partnership funding type projects for the parks. So I'm kind of here to answer any questions, and I'll certainly be there tomorrow as well to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Any questions for Elizabeth while she's here? Mr. Williams, did you?
I was wondering, you made comment of a 2005 contract. That contract, I assume, was approved by the council based on all properties except for the addition of 200 Government Street. Would that be a correct statement?
Correct. When the bid was put into place in May of 2005, concurrent with that was the original baseline agreement. And then there's been, an update each of the 5-year increments. And and we're trying to get the one worked out for when y'all put it into place in 2014, so we're about 2 years into that.
So it's renewed in 10 again, and then this last one was the one that took so much time.
Correct.
Finally. Okay, thank you.
Does everybody have a copy of that?
Of,
The baseline agreement, the current one?
I don't have a copy.
Okay.
Anybody else have a
I'll
copy?
leave it with Mary Ann and.
Okay, she'll make some copies for us. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mrs. Rich?
I thought I understood the increase also includes funds that were supposed to go to the your agency, and the city did not remit them. Do I have that correct?
Not exactly. We are asking, so in terms, so we just started the second year of our 5-year authorization, and we've, on that first year, see, our fiscal year starts, is July to June, and we start our budget adoption process in May. Then we have a public hearing, legal advertising, public hearing, blah, blah, blah. And so we're adopting budget in May and June, and then we, start the fiscal year in July. And so we just started our second year of the 5-year authorization. Mm-hmm. And so we've received part of that baseline amount for last year,
Okay.
which was 77, and then we have also received the performance contract, the old Main Street, we call them, in our budget it shows up as Main Street Program Funds, because it was the dissolution of that Downtown Development Department that those funds came from. Does that answer your question? No?
Not completely. So, and rather than to take time now, since you plan on coming to our finance committee, could you have that spelt out? Because I think what stands out is the increase that we're seeing.
Gotcha.
Now, the
Sure.
administration obviously put it into the budget, but if it could be just really nicely articulated, that would be extremely helpful.
Sure. And I also want to point, my treasurer, Mark Jackson, is here. Mark, if you would stand up. Open a new business on Dolphin Street this summer, Kazula's, and then Jeb Shell is our immediate past president with Hargrove Engineering, and they're a major developer downtown as well.
Okay. We appreciate it, and just come tomorrow so that we can kind of go through all of this in a little bit informal setting and kind of help walk us through it if you don't mind. That'd be great. Before you leave, though, any other questions of Ms. Ann? Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you coming.
If anyone else would like to address the council, please come down to the microphone.
Yeah. As Ms. Merchant said, since we were a little late getting here, it was difficult for some people to sign in. So if you were here to speak on any agenda item, you are welcome to come to the podium. And I believe we saw you at our pre-conference meeting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Respect to each and every council member here and the audience as well, and distinguished guests. My name is Amelia Clark, and I am here. This is my first time at your meeting, but I want to be
I'm sorry, can you give us your address?
Your address?
Oh, my address is 1406 Warren Drive.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to be appropriate because you mentioned, I don't know whether this is on the agenda, but I did have, something that I wanted to speak on, and it was concerning something I Googled about the chief of police. It was something about if the police, he didn't want his police officers to be monitored. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, Ms. Clark, that would be a non-agenda item, and we are inviting people if they want to speak on something that is on the agenda. Our rules are that if it is on the agenda, you can come and speak on the day of the council meeting. If it is a non-agenda item, as what you were referring to, our rules state that you have to call the clerk's office and sign up by 2 o'clock the Thursday prior to our Tuesday meeting.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind, I know I welcome you here to the meeting today. Thank you for coming. But if you want to speak to that, if you would just go ahead and sign in with Ms. Merchant and come back and see us next week, we'd love to hear you.
Thank you so much, Madam President.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Council. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Joycelyn Finley Hervey, and my address is 7020 Doppel Lane. I'm here this morning to especially thank you for everything that you've been doing to move the city forward. And I could say that as a native of Mobile, being born and raised here, having left for 20 years and come back to find this city stronger, this city better. And I want to see this city profitable. And I want to see this city represent everyone in the community and all of our stories to be told. I say that as a preface to the Dora Franklin Finley African American Heritage Trail. One of the aspects that the trail is also involved in is bringing the message to our youth, in particular fourth graders, throughout the city. We are a tour that the students can select for their annual retreats. And the most recent engagement that we have is with the Explorium Science Center. So I wanted to come up just to share with you that we have so many aspects going on, but they are all related to how we educate, how we make our city aware, how we take care of our youth, how we preserve and how we mark the contributions of African Americans to the diverse, rich cultural heritage of this city. And the new one that we're involved in with the Explorium is a medical tour. And so we have done a specialized tour that looks at the contributions from African American physicians, pharmacists, dentists, mortuary scientists, and medical clinics and hospital here in Mobile. So all of that is to say, we support the city. We're happy to see that we're growing and we are the city of potential and we want to become the city of success. Let's mark this cultural tourism heritage as one of the forefront items that we make primary in the city, because that area is the fastest growing sector of tourism. And I thank you, and I hope you support us when you do make your decisions about the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning to the council and to everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Antony Maven. I am the transit union president at the Wave Transit System. And on last week, I forwarded
I'm sorry, would you give us your address for the record, please?
Yes, 1059 Belvedere Circle West, Mobile, Alabama. On last week, last Thursday, I submitted a letter to the mayor and the city council to get some clarifications on the FY 2017 budget concerning the Wave Transit System. As we are right now, the transit system was cut $700,000 last year. On the proposed FY 17 budget, it's got an addition of $204,831. And I need some clarification to know, is that money is set aside to be proposed cut for the fiscal year for the transit system? Or is it gonna be a total of $900,000 in all, or what is going on? I hadn't received any dialogue from anyone. That is why I'm here today, to ask the council, to also, since the mayor's not here, to ask the chief of staff to please relay this message that the Wave Transit operators and employees and the citizens of Mobile County would like answers on this issue.
All right, thank you very much. Well, Mr. West, did you want to address it? Okay.
Yes, I think this message may have gotten to a couple council members that have asked the question also. Mr. Manzi, I know, did. I am also in receipt of a copy of an email from Tyrone Parker with the Wave to Mr. Maben explaining the $200,000 differential. Let me tell you very simply that last year, as you know, the sizing of the cuts to the Wave Transit were made in less than a 12-month period of time. And so the cuts had to be greater, if you will, than what would have been required if we'd had 12 months for those cuts to size into that $700,000. So the cut, so to speak, in the wave does not equate into additional service cuts, but simply spreading those cuts out now over the 12-month period of the 2017 budget.
Any other questions of Mr. Wesh? Thanks, Paul, appreciate it. Is there anyone else here to speak to anything on the agenda? Please come on down to the podium.
Hello, my name is Kalika Midri. I reside at 675 Chin Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36610. And this particular issue may not necessarily have been on the agenda, but I do believe that it is extremely urgent that we address the issue. You started off by speaking on the fact that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so I'd just like to let the chief know that I'll be one of the very first people to purchase one of the shirts from you, because I do believe that this will be a great time to support cancer prevention. And I would also just like to make sure that I made some of my concerns known to the council as well as to the citizens of Mobile. Now, I have had some previous communication with the mayor's office regarding some concerns that I have about being under some type of 24-hour surveillance.
Okay. All right. This is not on the agenda, as we
Okay.
told the lady who came before you.
Mhm.
If it is on the agenda, you're welcome to speak about it. If it is a non-agenda item, which this is, you need to sign in with the clerk's office on the Thursday by 2 o'clock prior to our Tuesday council meeting. So if you'd like to do that, Ms. Merchant can take your name and phone number and just get with her.
Okay, so sign up with the city clerk?
City clerk.
And I'll be able to address this issue here?
Next week.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First, I just want to make sure this is on the agenda, ordinance 01-406.
Did anybody get the agenda?
I'm
What is
sorry.
it?
The fire and police redistricting.
Oh, police jurisdiction.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Yes.
Can you give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sarah Sheffield. I live at 167 Westwood Street, which is your district, Mr. Richardson. My mother, my father, and my aunt all live on Hollinger's Island, which is considered Zone 3. For anyone here who doesn't know what this is, Mobile has been discussing redistricting fire and police jurisdiction. And first, I want to thank the 3 city councilors who wrote the op-ed this morning in the Mobile Press Register, particularly my own city councilor, for summarizing very well the economic and political reasons why this ordinance is not practical. I think you did a much better job than I could, so I'm going to focus on my personal reasons for believing that this ordinance should not be passed. I've been following this debate pretty closely, and there was an article on AL.com back in August. 2 of you particularly expressed that you felt that people who are in the affected areas need to, quote, pay full price or do without. That was the quote in the newspaper. At best, this is a disingenuous argument. My mother teaches public school in Mobile. She has taught public school for 25 years. She's probably taught at least one of your children. My aunt is the director of Mobile Community Action and the Head Start program, and I can't imagine that there's one of you who doesn't know what that program is. My father owns a business in this town and pays taxes for that business and has for 25 years. In addition, they make nearly 100% of their purchases in Mobile, and they pay the sales tax here like every other citizen of this town. There are 20 households on Hollinger's Island that would be affected by this ordinance. 20. It's a tiny block of houses, and I have printed out from a real estate website the houses that would be affected, if you wouldn't mind passing that to the council. That means they pay, so they pay 10% sales tax on everything they buy. They live about 500 feet outside of the city limits. And I don't like the implication that they're not entitled to city services just because of where their house is located. That argument doesn't really hold water. But even setting aside that argument, the brass tacks of it are this. The most important thing to me, and the most important thing that Sheriff Cochran and Assistant Fire Chief Pappas eloquently put it in the previous articles written about this ordinance, is that if this ordinance passes, my family, 2/3 of my family, my mother, my aunt, my father, will be 23 minutes away from the nearest fire and EMS station. My parents are 60 years old. My aunt is 65 years old. That is unacceptable. To wait nearly half an hour after a heart attack, an injury, a fire, for someone to come to their home and help them. And the same goes for police. It would be very difficult to get services out there. It's unimaginable to me. And it's not just them. Most of the Hollanders Island community is over 60 years old. They are retired. They spend most of their time at home when they're not in Mobile making purchases. Asking them to do without basic city services under the guise of saving money is disingenuous at best and opportunistic at worst. And I would, as three of you really well pointed out this morning in the paper, it would not even actually save any money because that money is going to be reallocated towards current police. So we're not losing 1.5 million here. We're just allocating it towards people that need these services. I would really ask that you consider that when you're voting on this ordinance today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Mrs. Rich?
You said these homes are 500 feet from the city's corporate limits.
If this were to happen as far as we can tell from the map, which is a little difficult to discern, I figured out that my parents' house falls about 500 to 1,000 feet from the line. So
why would they're not drawn out then? Because it's a mile and a
Are
half.
you in the 3 mile? You're in the outer band?
No, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're 500 feet outside the city limit. I'm saying that basically, from what we were able to discern from the map, their neighbors, like 2-3 houses down, 500 to 1,000 feet down, would have city services. My parents would not. They fall right outside the line.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I
that's
misspoke
clear.
on that.
Are you aware that the city's plan calls for a rollback that is strategic in that nobody will be left without coverage because the county would eventually take on the same response that the city has? We're not just pulling the plug and leaving people very vulnerable. It involves doing it so that when the county, and it would be an entire year, actually more than a year, where the county will get notice, and by working with our police and our fire department, the rollback would take place when the coverage was in place.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, I am aware of that.
Okay, so if the coverage does not stop and nobody will know who not to call, I mean, we'll all be very clear. So if you're going to get the same type of coverage, but just it's a different entity producing it.
Yes, ma'am, I do understand that. My concern is honestly almost 100% the distance to the fire station. That's my concern right now.
And it was my understanding that that's some of the things that the county needed to have
Clear
in
up.
place prior to us removing our services. So no one,
Is that written into the text of the ordinance?
That is within the memo of understanding that the city has drafted with the county so that the county will build and incorporate some fire districts so that there are plenty of fire stations within the county. But as Mrs. Rich said, nothing would happen until the county was prepared to take over the services. So your parents and their neighbors, in effect, would never be left without service. It would just be a different entity providing the service. And you were talking about response times, and one of the things that we have talked about is you're concerned about response times. Well, so are we within the city of Mobile, and so we need those good response times as well, and that's part of what this is all about.
I appreciate that. Could you maybe explain, I'm sorry, what a memo of understanding entails?
It's
Is
just
it
a
legally
memorandum
binding?
of understanding that the city and the county are working on together, that we have provided to the county to, I guess, as a strategic plan forward on what we do, and how the phasing in between city providing services to county providing services will work. But it's all in effect to make sure that people like your parents and their neighbors are never left without any coverage.
I appreciate that. Is it legally binding?
Madam
It would-
Chair,
Mr.
dialogue in the meeting generally is.
I understand, but she's asking questions, and I'm
I understand,
responding.
but recognize the rules.
I understand, Mr. Williams. I'm just trying to answer your questions. It would be legally binding if the city were to vote on it, and actually it is on the agenda today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Any other?
I would ask
Mrs.
for the council and/or the administration to please put that MOU on our website so people can review it. There is so much misunderstanding out there, so that would be helpful.
Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Sheffield. I'm her father.
Hi.
7349 Bay Road. And we've been looking at this since August. And I just wanted to clarify something. What we have, and I'm sure you've seen it on the map, a small area that's been carved out on Hollinger's Island with about 20 houses that's not within the district. And I know by the letter of the 1.5 mile, that little thing has to be carved out. But what we're asking is, if you can consider just please putting those 20 properties within the police jurisdiction, then we would not have to worry about the, later on, the county having to cover just 20 houses, 20 properties, and have the fire protection from Foul River having to travel 18 miles when the city is so close. It's only 20 properties. And what we're asking you to do is please consider just extending those 20 properties into the police jurisdiction, and that would solve all those problems. And it's Area 3 on your map. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, Ms. Merchant?
Ordinance is held over. 01046, ordinance to enter contract to provide police and fire service in certain areas of Mobile County outside the corporate limits and police jurisdiction.
This is, yes, you want to do that?
Yeah, this is the MOU, for lack of a better description, with the county, so that we can strategically do the program and not leave citizens exposed without public safety response. At the same time, moving towards getting response times for citizens in our corporate limits. It's my understanding there is a new MOU that the administration has presented to the county, and I would like to amend. Well, I think you first have to get
make
this.
a motion.
Yeah, you have to get the
second.
motion first.
Yeah,
So I'll move the motion.
All right.
Okay, and then offer the amendment that I started talking about.
Now you got to vote on.
We have to vote on whether
Have
to.
we, there's something seems just, part of clarification here. We have approved the agenda, and we have made a motion to take this. I hadn't heard the announcement. Did I miss something?
It's under ordinance is held over, so it doesn't require unanimous consent at this point.
But we've moved into that.
Yes, we have a motion and a second.
Okay.
And now,
And this is just so everybody understands where we are. This is the substitute that we talked about
This is
earlier.
not the substitute.
And Mrs.
Need to make a
Rich
motion to,
moved to,
put the substitute in this place. This was not
Right.
what we had on our agenda last week, correct? But
Correct.
we're just adding a substitute to that particular ordinance, correct? So does that require
Hang
a
on.
second?
Okay, wait a minute.
yes, and Mr. Daves has seconded it. Any questions?
I have a question.
Hang on.
Yes, question.
All right, Mr. Richardson.
Jim, would we have to put the first one on and then amend it? Would,
We talked about this at pre-conference, that we were going to,
And acknowledges that y'all are voting on the
yes.
The new one.
revised or the substitute contract, then we're
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If it passes, it passes. If it fails, it fails. We don't go back to an original.
That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Okay, so what's before us now is the substitute,
Yes, the
correct?
last one from the administration, which is new, and there are major changes to it in that it would not take effect until 18. There would be no charge for services, although the city would stay in locations that were vulnerable to having no services in either police or fire, and that the county would work towards then taking over the services by January of 2018. We are required by this law, since this is the date we're voting on it now, to actually begin in 2017, but the administration, in working with the county commissioners and their concerns, has offered to do it, as I just mentioned, 2018 for it coming into effect.
All right, any other discussion? And maybe before we go forward, since this is a substitute and things have gotten just a little confusing as exactly what it is, I would ask Mr. Woods if you would go through and just explain what this substitute actually means, because it is different.
Sure, Madam President. What
what this contract does, or Councilman referred to as MOU, what it does is gives consistent coverage to the county residents in the outer band of the police jurisdiction for the length of time that the county commission actually asked for, which is January 1 of 2018. And so there will be no decrease in services until that date, which has the same effect as voting after the October 1 date for this year. Very same effect. The bonus there is there's no cost to Mobile County. Let me say that again. Absolutely no cost to Mobile County, meaning we would not collect those sales tax.
Or to the residents.
Or to the, well,
Yeah, right.
or to the residents, with the exception of ambulatory transport, which everyone gets charged for. And the question was asked, why would we do this? Well, this is an enticer to actually enter into this memorandum of understanding or contract so that we can move forward with divesting ourselves of the outer band. That is an investment forward, and ultimately what will happen is after January 1, 2018, we would increase services to the citizens of Mobile without an additional cost, additional growth of government. So there's an increase in services without an increase in cost or an increase in manpower come January 1 of 2018. And that's one of the reasons for the additional changes.
Okay. And discussion, Mrs. Rich?
Yes, and I know I've harped on the fact that the area that I represent, because the growth in this 3-mile jurisdiction is right outside the borders of District 6, has seen the response times not keeping up with national standards, especially with paramedic, and that's a 6-minute response time, and every city tries to achieve that goal. It's called a golden standard, and this is what we would like to see in our city limits. The rest of the city, of course, would benefit if 6 was perking along, because a lot of times they have to take rescue out of the other areas to meet the needs that are going on in the police jurisdiction and in 6. So everyone gets a benefit. And again, it's good for the entire city, not just the district that I represent. But I am a tremendous advocate because response times are key to your quality of life. And it's our jobs as council persons to do everything in our power to make sure that public safety is optimum. And this moves us in that direction. So I hope that my colleagues will go along with this, and we are meeting the needs of our county commissioners. I was very sensitive to that in the beginning as well, and asking for the timeline that they need. And if you'll recall, the first Public Safety Committee, we met with I believe it was Commissioner Hudson, I don't think any other commissioner was present, but it was made clear that the county commission understands the will and also the legislation available to our city to have this jurisdiction made smaller. And they just needed time. And I'm really hoping that our relationship will not alter, and because it's important to have good relationships with your other elected officials, and that it's understood that this is what we have to do as a city elected official legislatively. Again, it's really a priceless obligation that we have, because you cannot put a cost on a response time that gets better. It's just extremely good for everyone involved.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Richardson?
Madam President, what is before us as a contract? This is an ordinance to enter into contract.
MOU.
You have to have 2 or more parties. I can't have no contract with Fred Richardson. I can enter a contract with Fred Richardson and somebody else. So in light of that, I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Roster, to your knowledge, has any member of the county commission agreed to this contract, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Has the Mobile County Sheriff agreed to this contract? To your knowledge?
I don't know that.
To your
I'm not-
knowledge?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure the sheriff's.
Do you know whether or not any other part of this contract agreed to this contract other than the city of Mobile?
Got me at a loss.
Seems to me that the city can't enter into contract with itself.
We can start it.
We must enter in. Okay, so if somebody else want to say something, I yield.
I've told them to hang on, you have the floor.
Bess has already talked twice, I didn't say nothing.
Oh, Fred.
Fred, Mr.
Like you don't
Richardson, I've
interrupt.
given you the floor, so please continue.
Okay, back off everybody. Now, it seems to me that what we have before us is a contract that only the city has agreed to, that no other entity, neither of the 3 county commissioners agreed to it, the sheriff didn't agree to it. So we're being asked to vote on a contract that nobody agreed to it but us. I say it's fundamentally flawed, and I'm not going to support this.
All right, Mr. Daves?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to respond first to some of the comments, the point Mr. Richardson just made. And I'll have to go back over some ground I've covered in prior meetings in order to do this. And I want to reiterate again my deep respect for our colleagues on the County Commission and concern, my concern for the individuals who live in the outer band of the police jurisdiction. Having said that, this body's primary responsibility is for public safety for the citizens of Mobile. Public safety for the citizens of Mobile. This step will enhance our ability to provide for the public safety of the citizens of Mobile. Now, because our withdrawal from the outer band of the police jurisdiction will require the county to step in and provide those services at some expense, the county is naturally opposed to this move. And the citizens in the outer band are naturally opposed to this move. I don't blame them. I understand their position. If I were in their position, I would feel the same way. But I'm not in their position, and the citizens of Mobile are not in their position. So going back to what Mr. Richardson said, if the reason there's not another party to this agreement is because they don't want this agreement. And if we wait for their approval before we move forward, we will never move forward because there's no interest on the other party's side in moving forward with this. So it's up to us to take unilateral action with respect to this matter. Now, what we have heard all along from the people who oppose our taking this step is that we just haven't given enough time. January 1st, 2017 is not enough time to fill in these areas with police and fire protection. Give us to January 1st, 2018 has been the refrain. Well, now, this document we're talking about gives them till January 1st, 2018 with the added bonus that there are certain taxes that people in the outer band are now paying that they won't have to pay anymore. And so we're down finally, we've gotten all this issue of the transition period off the table. And we're down to the bottom line issue of whether we're here to support the people that live in the city of Mobile or not. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right. We probably heard enough on this. We've been talking about it for a very long time, and so I don't want to lengthen that discussion any more than we absolutely have to, but I would agree with Mr. Daves and Mrs. Rich as to what they have mentioned as far as what our duty is as a public official in the city of Mobile. We represent the people who live in the city of Mobile. Response times are very important to us all. And unfortunately, those response times have grown and grown over the years. Therefore, someone in my district, Mrs. Rich's district, Mr. Richardson's district, throughout the city may not get the sort of service that they need because that amount of growth throughout the city and the jurisdiction. This move on behalf of the administration is to provide better services to the city of Mobile. And I think that is the utmost reason for agreeing to what the administration has brought to us to provide better services, especially in light of this new amendment or substitute, if you will, that gives the county until 2018 to do what they need to do to get the 26 deputies, if that's how many they need, and provide the fire service throughout these 3 miles, the outer band, which is about 3 miles out. So in light of that, I intend to vote in favor of this because, again, it is to provide the best services for the people of the city of Mobile, and that's what we are charged to do. Any other discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Manzi.
I just want to further offer some clarity as to why I'm taking the posture that I'm taking. I can totally appreciate all of the information provided to me from the administration relative to the cost savings, relative to public safety, and any and other reasons that they put forward as to why we should move forward positively on this agenda item. This ability is a new ability granted to cities by our Alabama State legislature, but this police jurisdiction has been in place for decades at this point. This is a new ability granted by the city, granted by the legislature to the city, and it has caught, in many respects, our colleagues on the county commission off guard, and in doing so, has not given them a sufficient amount of time in order to adequately plan for the public safety of the individuals that they represent. And I understand clearly, it's been repeated over and over by my colleagues on this council that we represent the citizens of the city of Mobile. I'm quite aware of that, ran for office in the city of Mobile, so I knew day one exactly who I represented. I think most of the major things that have occurred in this region have occurred because the city and the county has worked hand in hand in tandem to move things forward progressively. If you look at any of the major economic development projects that have come to this city or to this region, it's been because the city partnered with the county in order to move forward progressively. What I'm terribly worried about as it relates to this is that we would see a schism in the relationship between the county and the city. One, going it along by themselves, be it the county or the city, is not going to be what's in the best interest of everybody, including the 195 residents that live here in the city of Mobile. Many of the projects that have moved forward progressively in all of our council districts. This week alone, Councilwoman Bess Rich has a park that'll get $900,000 worth of reinvestment, and over half of that resource came from the county. So I think that we need to be deliberate. We have this ability now. There's nothing saying that we have to use it as quickly as we have it. Let's give the county the time it needs to build up and beef up where they've indicated that they need to do so. And then this is something that we'll have the ability to address next year or the following year. There isn't a rush. No one has been able to articulate to me why we must do this now, why we must move forward with this as soon as we've been given the ability by the Alabama State Legislature. And it's not that I discount anything that the administration has put before me. That's not my argument at all. I appreciate all the effort that they put into bringing this to this council. And they didn't just say that at a later date. This isn't something I think would merit our consideration in moving forward. But I do believe if you look back over all of the major things that have gotten us to the point where Mobile is today, that has occurred because our two bodies of government has worked together peacefully in order for those things to be achieved. And I am not one that would want to see a great and grand schism in that relationship.
Madam President.
Are you finished, Mr. Manzi?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Daves?
I would, again, what we have heard all along is give us until January 1st, 2018, and we will be okay. We are giving the county until January 1st, 2018. So let's move ahead.
Anybody else?
Well.
Mrs. Rich?
I'm just going to hit it again. That's exactly what their major concern was, and it became the concern of this council. The administration backed off of their dates and put in 2018. So we have met their standard and will not leave anyone open or exposed as we go through this. This is the opportunity for this council because of we do not have home rule and we can only move on the volition on something like this with the State House. And they have granted this privilege to us and we need to take advantage of it. So I feel like I was right with my colleagues initially on the concerns about the communication and the lack of time given to the commissioners, because I pride myself on having good relationships with other elected officials and did not want to see that tarnished. But we have done everything that we can possibly do. So I really urge the council to vote in agreement to this MOU, and then the county, if indeed the one thing that they felt very exposed about was the timeline, it's been repaired. So they should be able in time to read this over, get it signed, hopefully, and work in the best interests of all our constituents. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
3 in opposition, it fails. Ms. Merchant?
Ordinance 01047, amend Article 1, Section 1-2 of the City Code to reduce the police jurisdiction from 3 miles to 1.5 miles effective January 1st, 2017.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Richardson?
Well, during the past weeks, much have been said and written about the pros and cons in reducing the police jurisdiction by 1.5 miles. If you notice, I have elected to be silent. I haven't spoken to the media about this issue. Yet, even without saying anything about the issue, I have been vilified as having abandoned the citizens of District 1 while representing the citizens in the police jurisdiction. In other words, efforts been made to wake up or disturb the citizens in District 1 and trying to convince them that while I'm discussing the issue over here, that I'm just really abandoning them, and I'm really now supporting, representing the people out in this jurisdiction. One thing the citizens of District 1 knows, if they rain, I will spring 24/7. I was elected to represent District 1, and I will not abdicate my responsibility. About 99.9% of the time, whatever the mayor puts on this agenda, I support it. Now, I will have my say in voting, and some would like for me to just be quiet and vote. When I'm afraid, go down there, sit down and shut up. That won't happen. You are in dreamland if that's what you expect me to do. I say what I want to say, and most of the time I support what the mayor placed on this agenda. But every now and then, there comes an item on the agenda that I cannot support. And when that happens, all red flags goes up, oh, like the world. We've had an earthquake. The world's coming to an end. This item here, I cannot support. And I'm going to go over why I can't support. But conversely, there are items that I want the mayor to support for District 1. For instance, I've asked the mayor to put a meeting room in the new fire station we intend to build in Crichton. We did it in Tillman's Corner. We did it on Airport Boulevard. Why can't we do it with the fire station in Crichton? The mayor told me no. Did I vilify the mayor? Did I call a news conference? Did I call him out of his name? I said nothing. My point is, sometimes he's with me, sometimes he's not. Sometimes I'm with him, sometimes I'm not. That's all I want to say. Well, I was called to the mayor's office for a briefing on this issue, on the road back. And he gave us his rationale for rolling it back, although it was already on the council agenda, and he had not spoken one word to me before he placed it on the council agenda. I went up there with an open mind. The mayor told me that he's doing that because it's going to save the city $1.5 million, and it would take 26 officers out of the jurisdiction that he could use somewhere else. Then I asked the mayor, how much do we collect from the jurisdiction in terms of sales tax, business license fees, oil and gas tax? That came to $3 million. Do the math. If we're doing this to save $1.5 million and we'd have made $3 million, we have a net gain of $1.5 million. In other words, we are making money off the jurisdiction, not losing money, and we will not save no $1.5 million because we're not going to fire any of those officers. If we take 26 officers out of the jurisdiction, we have not saved a dime unless we do something with those officers. We're going to redeploy them in the city. How can we save money? We got the same number of officers we got to pay every week. We're doing it for some other reason. It's not for that. The county, and I agree with Councilman Manzi, the county has stood with us all around the world on these major economic venues, with Airbus, with Ulster, with ThyssenKrupp, and I can go on and on. The county was there with us, and they were not just standing there. They put up the same amount of money we put up to bring these venues to our city. I don't know nothing that I don't know of nothing that we can do today that would be so good that it would cause us to torpedo our relationship with the county. It's not worth it, in my opinion. It is not worth us destroying our relationship with the county. The county commission has spent over $9 million in the city this year on capital projects. And we're trying to save $1.5 million, and they've already spent over $9 million in the city. And we done selected our ammo to fire shot at the county. I'm not going down that road. And let me just say, if the city can save $20 million by drawing back the jurisdiction, and that $20 million is going into the budget with general fund, you know how much money of that, how much of that money is going to be spent in District 1? Based on the past, not a dime. The city has not gone into the general fund and resurfaced one street in District 1, and I've been down here for 20 years. The city has not gone into its general fund to resurface one street. The city has not gone in its general fund to cover one ditch of the 42 open parallel ditches in Trinity Gardens. Have not used one dime of that money. It has gone elsewhere. But the county puts money in District 1 to resurface the streets in District 1, and I'm not going to fire a shot at the county. It's the county that houses our prisoners. We don't have no jailhouse. It is the county who house our wayward youth. We don't have no Strickland Youth Center. It is the county that house the office space for the Mobile City Council. We don't have no building to meet in, no office space other than the county. It is the county that's doing that. So I am not getting ready to do anything to affect our relationship with the county. My answer last week was no. My answer this week is no. And if it's put back on the agenda for next week, my answer will be no. We're not gaining anything. I can understand a city with a jurisdiction that is full of residents, no businesses. You pull back because you can save money, because we don't get money off Avalon. That's not true with us. We make money off the county by collecting sales tax and business tax. So it's nothing to gain, it's nothing to lose. It's all to gain for us to stay there. We are putting it back for some other reason, and I don't know what it is, but it's not that we are losing money. I'm voting no.
You finished?
No, I'm through.
Madam President.
Okay, Mr. Daves.
Thank you. Usually, I sit here and I let my colleague have his say, and I did this time. And usually I don't try to come back and argue with him. But on this particular occasion, there are a number of things that I think on which the record needs to be set straight. First is the statement that, that we're actually making money in the PJ. And my recollection, Mr. Wesh, is that you have told us before, and I could be, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that it provides us it costs us $4.5 million to service this part of the PJ. We collect about $3 million, and so we lose about $1.5 million. Is that?
No, sir, that's not correct. We spend $5.5 million in the police jurisdiction. We collect $3.5.
Okay. So we are indeed losing money in the police jurisdiction. We are indeed providing services at a net loss to us, and that money could be recouped and used for the citizens of Mobile. Then there was a statement that the county is providing $9 million in road projects and other projects within the city this year. And I would just remind all of my colleagues that the citizens of Mobile already provide around 40% of the funding that the county receives. So if we're getting $9 million back, it's a very small fraction of the funding that the citizens of the city are providing to the county. The next thing was the statement that there have been no expenditures from the general fund for road projects in District 1. And that does not surprise me, since we would not provide for capital funding out of the general fund. So it doesn't surprise me that there haven't been any capital projects out of the general fund in District 1 or any other district. And then finally, there were some statements about how the county provides the Strickland Youth Center and the jail, and I'd remind my colleagues that we contribute heavily to both the maintenance of the Strickland Center and the jail. Just a few things I wanted to make sure that we went back over and made the record clear on. Thank you, Madam President.
I think one other part was Government Plaza. We do pay rent here in Government Plaza as well. All right, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Fails 4-3.
Resolutions held over. 09562, adopt the proposed 2016-2017 budgets for the general fund, capital improvement, strategic plan, and convention center.
Move to lay over till next week.
Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 21572, authorize contract with Acre Construction Corporation for Medal of Honor park improvements.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, thank
Mrs.
you.
Rich?
I appreciate this opportunity. I would like to thank all of the city administration officials that touched upon this contract. It's been a long time coming, and it was a program that when I sent out a postcard to everyone in the district on what they wanted the $3 million per year to be allocated towards, repairing, fixing, rebuilding the playground rose to the top. And I thank the administration for working with my constituents to make this a reality. This is a very large park. It's not just a district park by any stretch. It is the city's second largest park in our inventory, and people come from all over. The children who play on this are actually second generation at this point, because the first park was built in '96, and we're looking at grandchildren and children of children that played initially on the playground. It's a very exciting time for that park. This is the first big, at any time in the last, I would say, probably 20 years, with capital funding as much as this going directly to that particular park. So I'm grateful for that. But there is one thing missing, and that is shade structures. It had to be reduced out because it came in so high. There was only one construction firm that actually bid on this program. And so I'll be looking towards the administration and towards perhaps some of my colleagues on the council or other elected officials to help get those funds to make sure that those shade structures are put in place, and the footings are there, but not the shade structures themselves. There are a lot of trees that will be removed in order to accommodate the more modernized equipment out there, and the rubberized surface that does not work well with the tree canopy. So that was the big trade-off. But again, look for my office to be asking for additional funds, and it was $75,000. It won't be that much since the footings will be there. But again, I just want the public to be aware of that, and any ideas that they have on how we could raise those funds, I would be most appreciative to. So again, thank you to my colleagues, and in your hopes that you'll support this effort.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Resolution 21579, authorize contract with Lytics to provide video event monitoring and fleet tracking services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 21580, authorize contract with Service Master Services for janitorial service various facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 02048 through 88051.
Motion for the suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of resolutions of ordinance 88050 and 88051.
Okay,
And the rest would lay over for until next week.
except for the reallocations.
We need a number.
But that will
for-
come under consent, so,
Yeah.
all right.
The resolution regarding the logo?
No, it's an
Oh.
ordinance.
It's an ordinance,
It's coming
excuse me.
across as an ordinance. So it needs a number assigned, if that's okay, so we can hold it over. It was duly added.
Okay, so that number will be
So, we could have been
02052.
moved to consider, but okay, all right.
What was the number? I'm sorry.
02052.
Thank you.
So the motion is to take up,
050 and 051.
Right.
second that motion.
All right, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Ordinance 88050, ordinance deeming property not now needed for public or municipal purposes and authorizing the lease to Gulf Coast Ducks.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And 88051 is also an ordinance deeming property not now needed and authorizing a lease to Gulf Coast Ducks.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
02052, ordinance to establish an official city logo for the city.
No, no, no.
No,
We
we're
laid
going to
that one
hold
over?
that over.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the confusion. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's on the
Okay.
agenda.
So we're at consent resolutions
Right.
being
Right.
introduced for the first time. 03581 through 6598.
Motion for the suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of a resolution, consent resolution 03581 through 6989.
Second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
03581, reappoint Lillian Sawyer to the Mobile Civic Center Advisory Board.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
03582, appoint Thomas Nelson, Diana Chapman, Dr. Claude Warren, and Sarah McCoy to the Police Citizens Community Relations Advisory Council.
So moved.
Second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
09583, 584, 585, and 586, and 587 are reallocating monies from the general fund to the capital improvements fund for District 6 discretionary installation of handrails at the Connie Hudson Senior Center, to reallocate monies from the general fund to Council District 4 discretionary to the capital improvement fund. 09585, reallocate various sums from the general fund discretionary accounts for Districts 5, 6, and 7 to the capital improvement fund for various projects. 09586, reallocate monies from the general fund, police administration expense equipment to capital project taser contract. And 09587, reallocate monies from the cruise fund, professional and technical, to the cruise fund, capital improvement fund.
All right. So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
23588, accept deeds needed to add lanes on Ziegler Boulevard from Athey Road to Forest Hill Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
25589, authorize easement to Alabama Power Company to add new service for softball and football field lights on city-owned property on Zelia Road.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
37590 and 591, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor for Panda Palace Buffet on Satchel Page Drive, and a restaurant retail liquor license for Yak, the Kathmandu Kitchen on Dolphin Street.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
4592, 593, 594, 595, and 596, declare the structures at 3919 Moffett Court, 1204 Spruce Street, 5620 Perry Road, 2308 Cecilia Street, and 2365 Willowdale Street, public nuisances, and ordering them repaired or demolished.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
58597, declare weeds noxious, Group 1549.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
6598, approve award of special bonuses to Darlene Looney, Joshua Nix, and Randy Reed as part of the Mayor's Incentive Program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01599 through 37605.
By council rules, those resolutions were held for 1 week.
Okay, there was a request for 21,600 to waive.
We didn't get consent.
Don't think there's unanimous consent on that one. All right. Per council rules, these will all lay over 1 week.
Announcements?
All right, let's keep these short. Mr. Manzi?
Yes, Madam President, I want to announce that on Thursday at Crawford Park, there will be the grand opening and dedication of the Danielle Juzan Dog Park. This will be Thursday, September the 22nd at 11 o'clock, if my calendar here is correct. And we certainly want to invite all the citizens in the surrounding area to come out and celebrate the opening of the first dog park east of I-65. I'm appreciative of all of the efforts, the members of the administration, Jan Green, Ms. Juzan's family, and everyone in the surrounding neighborhood who has been a part of bringing this dog park to fruition. That's again Thursday at 11 o'clock at Crawford Murphy Park. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Daves?
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee of the City Council will meet tomorrow, Wednesday, September 21st at 2 p.m. in the Council Conference Room to again review the proposed fiscal year 2017 budget. The Finance Committee of the Council will also meet October 18th at 2 o'clock p.m. in the City Council Conference Room in order to hear some information from the Finance Director about a possible refunding of certain portions of the city's debt. I'd like to thank Mayor Stimpson, Public Safety Director Landolt, and Public Works Director Bill Harkins for attending my district meeting at St. Pius Church a week ago today. We had a very good turnout. They all did an excellent job, and by the time they were I always put them up front, and by the time they were finished speaking, there were no questions for the councilman, which is a perfect arrangement, and I thank them very much for their help on that. As a point of personal privilege, Madam President, I would like my good friend of almost 50 years standing, John Bladen, to stand up. If you would stand up for a minute. John and I met in college. He's down here from Boston, Massachusetts. He is a former alderman of Wayland, Massachusetts, and so he has a full understanding of both the joys and the frustrations of municipal governance. Thanks for being with us, John.
Welcome. Good to see you. And Mr. Daves is telling on himself when he says he's a friend of 50 years.
He was a mere child.
Just a mere child. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, I think he witnessed some of these joys and frustrations today. I'd like to announce that the Public Service Committee will be meeting today at 2 o'clock at the Council Conference Room, and we will be taking up the issue of the remaining 2016 CIP funds. We're going to reconcile those funds with what is proposed for 2017. And for the citizens in Trinity Gardens, I would like to say that I was out there yesterday, and I was happy to see that they had the machinery on Collins Street, and they had already begun to dig up the dirt so they could put the large pipes down to close the ditches on Collins Street. And I put $800,000 in August of last year, and we're getting started in September of this year. I've already added another $600,000 for the coming year, starting October 1, so we can keep the ditch closure effort ongoing. And I just hope that this same contractor can get the contract so he can stay out there and keep on closing those ditches. But they have already started. To me, that's big news. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Rich.
Thank you very much. I'll just repeat again the fundraiser that will take place next Thursday, September 29th from 6 till 8 at the Connie Hudson Senior Center. This is a fundraiser for the foundation. That is a 501c3, totally volunteer. There's no paid staff. and they are raising funds, and we put it directly back into the senior center. Again, I have tickets for anyone's interested. It's $50 a couple, 30 a person, and I'd love to see you part of that wonderful event, and I thank that entire group for their dedication and efforts towards our city. Again, Thursday, September 29th, 6 to 8 at the Connie Hudson Senior Center, and just contact me. I'll be happy to provide you tickets. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Small?
Thank you, Madam President. The President said to keep the announcement short. I just want to let the citizens of District 3 know that we will soon be announcing next week the community meeting for Navico, Halls Mill, and Pleasant Valley Road area. Again, that meeting will be held in October. But as the end note, I would like to thank and congratulate Danny for the success fifth quarter classic weekend that Mobile had experienced this past weekend. Mobile haven't experienced something like this in a long time with the different events that they had Friday and Saturday with, I think it was like 15,000 fans inside of the stadium with another 20,000 tailgating. And then because of the weather, you know, many people did not come because I heard it was over 19,000 tickets was sold for the event. So again, I'd like to say congratulations and hope that this event will come again soon and we'll be better prepared next year than we was this past year. And again, remember that District 3 is the place where things are happening. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, thank you. Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. It was my pleasure being the, I think, sole elected official in Mobile, Alabama last weekend to represent the city at the event that was mentioned by my colleague. So firsthand, I'm not sure if we had exactly what number. My guess would be about 20,000 in the stadium. Over 25,000 tickets sold. Tremendously successful event. And I'm not sure what we could have done more with the timeline that we had. And so I applaud all parties that had anything to do with the classic, what I'm calling the true classic, the classic, that will become the Mobile Classic. It really was fantastic. Now, I was at home through the end of the Alabama game, but I did not miss the opportunity to run up the stairs of our press box, so to not miss the halftime festivities. And the Rattler band did not disappoint. Absolutely fantastic. By both bands, but anyone that has seen FAMU perform cannot deny that they are absolutely world class. Not only in the sound of their music, but in their performance as well. And the football game was just tremendous. The leadership of both universities worked very hard to make that happen. And they're committed to working with us to ensure that the Classic of Mobile is a thing that we will see for many years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Danny, also, too, I want to thank you for helping to host the local family members of the Tuskegee coach. So that turned out well. They were very appreciative of that. Just a couple of other announcements to make sure everyone heard. We will be meeting here at the normal time next week, next Tuesday, in order to make sure that we give plenty of time and opportunity for people to speak about the budget. So instead of meeting at VIA off-site at 6 p.m., as we had originally planned, we will be here next Tuesday at our normal time, and we will get in touch with the folks at VIA to try to postpone and hold an off-site meeting there a little later on. It was mentioned we have a Public Services Committee meeting this afternoon, and tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock we have the Finance Committee meeting. Any other discussion, announcements? All right, we are adjourned.
Bark it.